While most gardeners spend money on chemicals and tools, Amish families grow thriving harvests with simple methods. Their secret is 40 quick hacks that make gardening easier, faster, and more rewarding. From pest control to soil care, these tricks prove why Amish gardens never fail. Compost like lasagna. The Amish have perfected a composting method that requires zero backbreaking labor. Instead of constantly turning and mixing compost piles, they simply layer materials like building a lasagna. Brown materials like dried leaves go down first, followed by green materials like kitchen scraps, then more browns, and the pattern continues. Each layer breaks down slowly on its own, creating incredibly rich soil without any heavy lifting from the gardener. This layered approach works because different materials decompose at different rates, and the microorganisms naturally move between layers to do their work. The bottom layers feed beneficial bacteria, while the top layers protect everything underneath from weather extremes. Nature handles all the mixing through earthworms and beneficial microbes that tunnel through the pile. What takes modern gardeners hours of backbreaking labor becomes a simple stacking job that even children can help with during weekend chores. Manure powerhouse. Every Amish farm produces something that modern gardeners pay premium prices for at garden centers. Cow, horse, and chicken manure pile up naturally around barns, creating a constant supply of the best fertilizer money can buy. The secret lies in letting this manure age properly before using it on plants, because fresh manure can actually burn delicate plant roots with its high nitrogen content. Fresh manure is like strong coffee for plants. Too much too fast, and everyone gets the jitters. But aged properly, it provides steady energy all season long. The aging process takes about 6 months to a year, during which harmful bacteria die off and nutrients transform into plant-friendly forms. Aged manure contains the perfect balance of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium that vegetables crave for healthy growth. While chemical fertilizers give plants a quick sugar rush followed by a crash, aged manure provides steady, long-lasting nutrition that builds soil health year after year instead of depleting it like synthetic alternatives often do. Onion skin tea. Those papery onion skins that usually get tossed in the trash are actually packed with valuable plant nutrients. The Amish have collected every onion skin from their kitchens for decades, knowing these seemingly worthless scraps contain high levels of potassium that plants need for strong root development and disease resistance. This kitchen waste becomes liquid gold for garden plants when properly prepared. Making onion skin tea requires no special equipment or expensive ingredients. Simply fill a large jar with collected skins, pour hot water over them, and let the mixture steep for about a week. The resulting amber liquid works as a powerful root strengthener when poured around plants that need extra nutrition. Potassium helps plants develop stronger cell walls, making them more resistant to diseases and pest attacks that can devastate entire harvests. Manure tea brew. The Amish take their manure fertilizing to the next level by creating liquid fertilizer that works faster than solid applications. This process involves steeping aged manure in water, similar to brewing a very earthy cup of tea that plants absolutely love. While the smell might clear your sinuses better than any cold medicine, the results speak for themselves in healthier, more productive plants throughout the growing season. Manure tea brewing is like making soup for plants. It smells terrible while cooking, but everyone feels better after eating it, especially the tomatoes, who seem to grow twice as fast. The brewing process takes about 2 weeks, during which beneficial nutrients dissolve into the water and become immediately available to plant roots. This liquid fertilizer can be applied directly to soil around plants, or diluted for more delicate seedlings that might be overwhelmed by full-strength applications. The advantage over solid manure is speed, since plants can access liquid nutrients immediately rather than waiting for solid materials to slowly break down in the soil. Matchstick magic? Used matchsticks might seem like worthless trash, but the Amish have discovered their hidden garden value that costs absolutely nothing. These tiny wooden sticks contain sulfur from the match head and magnesium from the wood treatment process. When pushed into soil around plants, they slowly release these essential nutrients as they decompose over several months, providing steady nutrition without any additional cost. Magnesium is essential for chlorophyll production, which means greener, healthier plants that can photosynthesize more efficiently. Sulfur helps plants process other nutrients more effectively and builds the proteins they need for strong growth. The decomposition process takes several months, providing slow-release nutrition that keeps plants healthy without constant feeding. This simple trick proves that even the smallest waste items can benefit gardens when used creatively. Tea Bag Booster. After enjoying their morning tea, Amish families give their used tea bags a second life in the garden instead of throwing them away. These soggy bags contain nitrogen-rich tea leaves and organic matter that earthworms absolutely love to eat and process into valuable soil amendments. The fabric bags break down naturally while releasing nitrogen slowly into the soil where plant roots can access it. Tea bags in the garden are like breakfast in bed for earthworms. They get their favorite meal delivered right to their doorstep without having to search for it all over the yard. Black tea works especially well because it contains tannins that help acidify soil for plants like blueberries and azaleas that prefer lower pH levels. Green tea bags add antioxidants to soil that can help plants resist diseases and recover from environmental stress. Even the string and paper tag decompose safely in soil, leaving no harmful residues that could damage beneficial soil organisms or plant roots. Egg water elixir. The Amish waste absolutely nothing, including the calcium-rich water used to boil eggs for breakfast every morning. This mineral-rich liquid gets cooled down and poured directly onto garden plants instead of going down the kitchen drain where it provides no benefit whatsoever. The dissolved calcium from eggshells strengthens plant cell walls and prevents common problems like blossom end rot in tomatoes and peppers. Calcium deficiency shows up as weak, floppy stems and poor fruit development that reduces harvest quality and quantity. The cooled water provides immediately available calcium that plants can absorb right away through their root systems. This simple practice requires zero extra work, since families are already boiling eggs for meals, and the nutrient-rich water costs nothing beyond what was already spent on groceries. Hairy defense. Amish barbers and mothers have discovered that human hair clippings work as excellent garden deterrents and slow-release fertilizers. Hair scattered around plants creates a barrier that rabbits, deer, and other garden pests prefer to avoid because the human scent lingers for weeks, convincing animals that people are always nearby and ready to chase them away from valuable vegetables. Human hair in the garden works like a scarecrow that never needs new clothes. It keeps working day and night without complaining about the weather or asking for a raise. As hair decomposes over time, it releases nitrogen into the soil and acts as a natural fertilizer. The keratin protein in hair contains about 16% nitrogen, making it as valuable as many expensive commercial fertilizers. The hair should be spread in thin layers around plants rather than dumped in thick clumps that might mat together and prevent water from reaching plant roots properly. Strong seed lineage. The Amish practice natural selection in their gardens by saving seeds only from their strongest, most productive plants each growing season. This ancient practice gradually improves crop varieties over generations, creating plants perfectly adapted to local climate conditions and soil types. Instead of buying new seeds every year, they develop their own superior varieties through patient, careful selection. Each growing season, gardeners identify plants that resist diseases, produce abundant harvests, and handle local weather conditions better than their neighbors. Seeds from these champion plants get carefully dried and stored for next year's planting in cool, dry locations that prevent damage from moisture and pests. Over decades, this process creates vegetables that perform better than generic store-bought varieties that were bred for shipping rather than flavor or nutrition. Pointed down planting. The Amish have observed that seeds germinate faster and stronger when planted with their pointed end facing downward into the soil. This simple technique works with the seed's natural design rather than fighting against millions of years of evolution. Most seeds have a pointed end where the root emerges and a rounded end where the shoot develops and pushes towards sunlight. Planting seeds pointed down is like giving them a GPS system. They know exactly which direction to go without getting confused and wasting energy wandering around underground looking for the right way up. When seeds get planted randomly or upside down, the emerging root has to curve around to find the correct direction, wasting precious energy that could go toward faster growth instead. Pointed down planting eliminates this confusion, leading to better germination rates and stronger seedlings that establish themselves more quickly. Even tiny seeds benefit from proper orientation, though it requires more patience to position each one correctly during planting season. Cornmeal mix. Kitchen pantries on Amish farms always contain cornmeal for cooking and baking needs throughout the year. The resourceful Amish discovered that mixing tiny seeds with cornmeal creates perfectly even distribution when planting, eliminating the common problem of seeds clumping together in some spots while leaving bare patches in others. This technique works especially well for direct seeding in rows where precision matters for proper plant spacing. The cornmeal acts as a carrier that separates individual seeds and makes them easier to see against dark soil during planting. Yellow cornmeal provides the best contrast with most seed colors, making it simple to achieve even spacing without guesswork. The cornmeal eventually decomposes in the soil, adding small amounts of organic matter that benefit soil structure and provide trace nutrients to developing plants. Eggshell starters. Breaking eggs for breakfast creates perfect little seed-starting containers that the Amish never throw away with the regular trash. These natural biodegradable pots provide calcium to young seedlings while eliminating the need for expensive plastic starter trays that end up in landfills. Careful cracking techniques leave half shells intact and ready for immediate planting duties without any additional preparation. Eggshells make perfect seed starters because they're already designed to protect and nourish new life. They just switch from baby chicks to baby plants without missing a beat. Each eggshell holds just enough soil for one seedling to get properly established before transplanting time arrives. The calcium in the shell walls slowly dissolves as plants grow, providing essential nutrients that strengthen plant cell walls and improve overall plant health. When transplanting time comes, the entire shell goes directly into the garden soil where it continues breaking down and feeding the plant throughout the growing season. Newspaper pots. Old newspapers pile up in Amish households just like everywhere else, but they get transformed into useful seed-starting containers instead of heading to the recycling bin. The ingenious Amish roll newspaper sheets into small pots that hold soil and seedlings perfectly while costing absolutely nothing to make. These paper containers break down safely in garden soil without leaving any harmful residues behind. Modern newspaper inks are soy-based and completely safe for plants and soil organisms, unlike older inks that contained heavy metals. These paper pots work especially well for plants that dislike transplant shock because the entire container can be planted directly in the ground without disturbing delicate root systems. The newspaper decomposes within weeks of being planted, allowing roots to grow through naturally as the plant establishes itself. Potato rooting. Rooting plant cuttings can be tricky business that often ends in failure, but the Amish have discovered that potatoes make excellent rooting assistants for difficult plants. Fresh potatoes provide constant moisture and nutrients to cuttings while they slowly develop new root systems over several weeks. This method works particularly well for woody plants like roses and fruit trees that can be extremely difficult to root in plain water. Potatoes help plant cuttings root better than water because they provide room service, constant moisture, nutrition, and a comfortable place to stay while the roots get organized and ready to work. The potato acts like a natural sponge, holding water and slowly releasing it to the cutting without drowning delicate tissues. It also provides small amounts of nutrients that encourage healthy root development. The technique involves poking holes in raw potatoes, inserting cuttings, then planting the entire potato cutting combination in soil where the potato continues feeding the cutting until it develops enough roots to survive independently. Frugal culture beds. Buried logs and branches form the foundation of many Amish-raised garden beds using an ancient technique called Frugal culture. The patient Amish pile logs and branches in trenches, then cover everything with soil to create raised growing areas that improve year after year. These underground logs act like giant sponges, storing water during wet periods and slowly releasing it during droughts when plants need moisture most. As the buried wood slowly decomposes over 5 to 10 years, it releases nutrients and creates air pockets that plant roots absolutely love. This long process provides soil improvement without any additional inputs beyond the initial wood and soil. The decomposing logs also generate slight amounts of heat that can extend growing seasons in cooler climates, giving plants extra weeks of productive growth time in spring and fall. Herb spirals. Space-efficient herb gardens take distinctive spiral shapes on many Amish homesteads, creating different microclimates within small areas. The clever Amish build these raised spiral beds with stones or logs, strategically placing sun-loving herbs at the top and shade-tolerant varieties at the bottom. This vertical design maximizes growing space while providing exactly the right conditions for each plant's specific needs. Herb spirals are like apartment buildings for plants. Everyone gets their own floor with the right amount of sun, water, and neighbors they actually like living next to. Mediterranean herbs like rosemary and thyme thrive in the well-drained top sections where they get maximum sun exposure. Moisture-loving herbs like parsley and chives flourish in the lower, shadier areas, where they stay cooler and receive more consistent moisture. The spiral shape creates natural water flow that irrigates plants at different levels as water moves downward, providing efficient irrigation without complex systems or expensive equipment. Keyhole gardens, circular raised beds with compost baskets in the center, make watering and feeding incredibly efficient on space-conscious Amish farms. These keyhole-shaped gardens allow easy access to all plants while concentrating fertility in the center where it can spread outward naturally to feed surrounding crops. The design resembles a keyhole when viewed from above, with a narrow path leading to the central composting area. The central compost basket receives kitchen scraps and organic matter throughout the growing season, eliminating the need for separate compost piles while providing constant nutrition. As materials decompose in the center, nutrients and water flow outward to feed all the plants in the circular bed. The design means every plant stays within comfortable arm's reach for easy harvesting, weeding, and maintenance without stepping on soil or damaging plants. Tire stack potatoes. Old automobile tires become productive potato towers on resourceful Amish homesteads, turning automotive waste into impressive food production systems. The efficient Amish start with one tire filled with soil and seed potatoes, then systematically add more tires and soil as plants grow taller throughout the season. This vertical growing method can produce over 100 pounds of potatoes from a space smaller than most flower beds. Growing potatoes in tire stacks is like building an apartment tower for vegetables. Each floor produces more residents, and at harvest time, everyone moves out at once with their luggage full of starch. Each tire level gets added when potato plants reach the top of the previous tire, encouraging new potatoes to form along the buried stems. The black rubber absorbs heat during the day, creating warm growing conditions that potatoes love for rapid development. At harvest time, the entire tire stack gets carefully dismantled from top to bottom, revealing layer after layer of fresh potatoes, like opening a treasure chest. Potato barrels. Large barrels or containers become potato growing systems that the Amish fill gradually throughout the growing season. Starting with just a few inches of soil in the bottom, seed potatoes get planted and covered lightly with additional soil. As plants grow upward and show green leaves above the soil surface, more soil gets added until the barrel fills completely with layers of soil and developing potatoes. This method encourages potato formation along the entire length of buried stems, dramatically increasing yields from small spaces where traditional row planting would be impossible. At harvest time, barrels can be tipped over or carefully dismantled to reveal pounds of fresh potatoes that developed at different levels. The contained system also makes it easier to provide consistent watering and prevents competition from weeds that plague traditional potato patches. Weatherproof layout. Smart garden placement protects valuable crops from both flooding and drought conditions that the experienced Amish have learned to expect over decades of farming. They design gardens with natural drainage systems that channel excess water away from plant roots while retaining moisture during dry spells when irrigation water might be limited. Strategic positioning of beds and pathways creates beneficial microclimates that buffer against weather extremes. Weatherproof gardens are like good insurance policies. You hope you never need them, but when storms come calling, you're mighty glad someone thought ahead about where to put everything. Raised beds with proper drainage prevent root rot during exceptionally wet seasons, while deep soil preparation helps plants access groundwater during extended droughts. Multiple small plots scattered around the homestead reduce the risk of losing entire harvests to localized weather events like hail, flooding, or unexpected late frosts that can devastate concentrated garden areas in single locations. No-dig gardening. Soil stays completely undisturbed in many Amish gardens because they understand that tilling destroys the beneficial soil organisms that make plants healthy and productive. Instead of breaking up soil with plows or power tillers, the wise Amish add organic matter to the surface and let earthworms do all the mixing naturally underground. This approach preserves delicate soil structure while dramatically reducing the physical labor required for garden maintenance. Earthworms and beneficial bacteria create natural soil channels that improve drainage and root penetration far better than any mechanical tilling can achieve. The undisturbed soil retains moisture more effectively because surface layers stay intact instead of being broken up and exposed to evaporation. Over time, no-dig beds develop incredibly rich, loose soil that plants love while requiring less water, fertilizer, and physical effort from the gardener. Rainwater harvesting. Wooden barrels positioned strategically under roof downspouts capture thousands of gallons of free water on Amish homesteads each year. A single inch of rainfall on even a modest-sized roof can fill multiple large containers, providing irrigation water for weeks during dry periods when well water might be limited or expensive. This collected water often proves superior to well water because it lacks the minerals that can build up in soil over time. Rainwater harvesting turns every storm into a free delivery service. Mother Nature drops off exactly what the garden ordered without sending a bill or complaining about the delivery address. Require simple modifications like spigots for easy water access and fine screens to prevent mosquitoes from breeding in standing water. The practice reduces dependence on wells and municipal water while preventing roof runoff from causing erosion problems around building foundations. Even small roofs can collect impressive amounts of water when properly equipped with gutters and collection systems that direct every drop into storage containers. Warmth by water barrels. Dark-colored water barrels placed strategically inside Amish greenhouses provide natural climate control without any electricity or expensive fuel costs. These thermal mass systems absorb solar energy during sunny days and release it slowly throughout cold nights when tender plants need protection from freezing temperatures. The temperature moderating effect can extend growing seasons by several weeks in both spring and fall. The barrels work most effectively when positioned where they receive direct sunlight during the day but can radiate stored heat to plants during nighttime hours. Dark colors like black or deep blue absorb heat much more efficiently than light-colored containers that reflect valuable solar energy. Multiple barrels create more thermal mass and provide better temperature control in larger greenhouses where single barrels might not provide adequate heat storage. Soaker hose system. Buried soaker hoses deliver water directly to plant root zones while minimizing evaporation losses that waste precious water during hot summer weather. The efficient Amish bury these perforated hoses just below the soil surface where they provide steady, deep watering without surface runoff that carries away nutrients and topsoil. This irrigation method works especially well in raised beds where water conservation becomes critical during extended dry periods. Buried soaker hoses are like underground room service for plants. They deliver exactly what's needed right where it's wanted without making a mess or wasting anything on unnecessary show. The slow water delivery encourages deep root development because plants must grow downward to access moisture, creating stronger, more drought-resistant plants. Surface watering often creates shallow root systems that struggle during dry conditions because roots stay near the surface instead of exploring deeper soil layers where moisture persists longer during drought periods. Ice cube. Watering. Delicate seedlings receive gentle, consistent moisture when the Amish place ice cubes directly on soil around young plants. The slowly melting ice provides steady hydration without the shock of sudden water application that can damage tender root systems or wash away lightweight potting soil. This method works particularly well for container plants that dry out quickly in hot weather but can be damaged by heavy watering. Each ice cube melts gradually over several hours, allowing soil to absorb water completely without runoff or puddling that can encourage fungal diseases. The cold water also provides slight cooling relief to plants stressed by extreme heat that might otherwise wilt or stop growing during the hottest parts of summer days. This technique requires no special equipment beyond ice cube trays and provides precise water control for the most sensitive plants. Wool sock insulation. Old wool socks get second careers protecting plant roots from freezing temperatures on thrifty Amish homesteads. These natural insulators slip easily over containers and small raised beds to provide frost protection without expensive heating systems or energy costs. Wool retains its insulating properties even when damp, making it ideal for outdoor plant protection during unpredictable spring and fall weather when temperatures can drop unexpectedly overnight. Wool socks protecting plants from frost work like cozy sweaters for roots. They keep everything warm and comfortable even when the weather outside gets downright unfriendly to tender vegetation. The natural lanolin in wool provides water resistance while still allowing air circulation around plant roots, preventing the suffocation that can occur with plastic covers. Multiple socks can be layered for extra protection during severe cold snaps that might otherwise kill valuable plants. This recycling approach keeps useful materials out of the trash while providing effective plant protection that costs nothing beyond the original sock purchase. Marigold defenders. Bright marigold flowers planted throughout Amish vegetable gardens provide much more than cheerful color in the landscape. These hardworking flowers release natural compounds from their roots that repel harmful nematodes, aphids, and other garden pests that can damage or destroy food crops. The pest control benefits work both underground through root secretions and above ground through aromatic compounds that confuse insects looking for host plants. The flowers also attract beneficial insects like ladybugs and parasitic wasps that prey on harmful pests, creating a natural balance that reduces pest problems without chemical interventions. Marigolds planted near tomatoes can reduce whitefly populations significantly while improving overall plant health and productivity. The strong scent confuses many insects that locate host plants by smell, effectively hiding valuable vegetables from pests that might otherwise devastate entire crops. Marigold borders. Taking marigold protection to the next level, the strategic Amish create complete borders of these flowers around entire garden areas. These living fences provide comprehensive pest control while creating stunning visual boundaries that define different garden sections and add beauty to functional growing spaces. The concentrated flower power creates an even stronger deterrent effect than scattered individual plants could provide alone. Marigold borders work like floral security systems. They look beautiful and welcoming to people, but they're actually running serious pest control operations that keep troublemakers away from the valuable vegetables inside. Full borders work particularly well around high-value crops like tomatoes and peppers that suffer heavily from pest damage and represent significant investments in time and money. The continuous scent barrier confuses flying insects, while root compounds protect against soil-dwelling pests that attack plants from below ground level where they're harder to detect and control. Chopstick aeration. Compacted soil gets loosened gently when the Amish poke strategic holes with chopsticks around struggling plants. This simple aeration technique improves air and water movement through soil without damaging delicate root systems that might be severed by larger tools. The thin wooden sticks create perfect-sized holes that relieve soil compaction caused by foot traffic, heavy rains, or natural settling over time. Container plants especially benefit from chopstick aeration since their confined growing space leads to faster soil compaction than occurs in open garden beds. The holes allow essential oxygen to reach root zones where it's necessary for nutrient uptake and healthy growth. Regular chopstick treatment prevents the soil crusting that blocks water absorption during heavy rains, ensuring that irrigation water reaches plant roots instead of running off the surface. Coffee filter fix. Used coffee filters find new purpose lining the bottom of plant containers on waste-conscious Amish homesteads. These filters prevent soil from washing out drainage holes while still allowing excess water to escape freely for proper drainage. The paper material eventually decomposes harmlessly in soil, unlike plastic alternatives that can persist in the environment for decades and potentially harm beneficial soil organisms. Coffee filters in plant pots work like good manners. They keep everything tidy and proper while letting the important business of drainage happen without making a mess all over the place. The filters eliminate the messy problem of soil appearing in plant saucers while maintaining the proper drainage that prevents root rot in container plants. Used filters often contain trace amounts of coffee grounds that provide slight nitrogen benefits to plants as the paper decomposes. Multiple filters can be layered for extra protection in containers with unusually large drainage holes that might otherwise lose too much soil. Terracotta markers. Broken clay pots become permanent plant labels when the resourceful Amish write on pottery shards with permanent markers, pencils, or even scratched inscriptions. These weather-resistant markers survive rain, snow, sun, and temperature extremes better than paper or plastic labels that deteriorate quickly outdoors. The natural clay material blends attractively with garden aesthetics while providing lasting plant identification that remains readable season after season. The fired clay surface accepts various writing materials and holds the information for years without fading or becoming illegible. Large pottery pieces work well for major plant groups or garden sections, while smaller shards can label individual specimens in seed-starting operations or plant collections. These markers can be reused indefinitely by simply updating plant information as garden plans change from year to year. Straw fruit cushions. Clean straw tucked carefully under developing fruits prevents ground contact that leads to rot and pest problems in Amish gardens. This natural mulching technique works especially well for melons, pumpkins, squash, and strawberries that rest directly on soil during development and are vulnerable to soil-borne diseases. The straw barrier also keeps fruits cleaner and makes harvesting more pleasant by preventing mud and soil from sticking to the produce. Straw cushions for fruits work like luxury hotel beds. Everything stays clean, comfortable, and properly supported while developing into something everyone wants to enjoy at harvest time. The insulating properties of straw-moderate soil temperature swings that can stress developing fruits and affect their quality. Good air circulation under strawberries and other ground-level fruits prevents the fungal problems that thrive in moist conditions where fruits touch soil directly. The straw also suppresses weed growth around fruit plants while gradually decomposing to add organic matter that improves soil structure and fertility. Vinegar tool rescue. Rusty garden tools get restored to usefulness when the frugal Amish soak them in plain white vinegar overnight or longer for heavily rusted implements. The mild acid dissolves rust deposits without harming metal surfaces or wooden handles that might be damaged by harsh chemical rust removers. This restoration technique saves substantial money on tool replacement while extending the useful life of quality implements that would otherwise be discarded. The vinegar treatment works best on surface rust that hasn't penetrated deeply into metal, though heavily rusted tools may require multiple soaking sessions combined with light scrubbing using steel wool or fine sandpaper. After vinegar treatment, tools should be rinsed clean with water and dried thoroughly to prevent new rust formation from moisture exposure. A light coating of oil helps protect restored metal surfaces from future corrosion during storage periods. Chicken patrol. Free-ranging chickens provide mobile pest control services in Amish gardens while simultaneously fertilizing soil with their nitrogen-rich droppings. These feathered workers scratch enthusiastically through mulch and soil, finding and eating grubs, slugs, beetles, and other harmful insects that damage crops. The natural pest control comes with built-in fertilization as chickens deposit valuable manure throughout garden areas during their daily foraging activities. Chickens in the garden work like feathered employees who never call in sick, always show up on time, and provide both pest control and fertilizer services while working for nothing but chicken feed and kitchen scraps. Chickens work particularly well for controlling potato beetles, cucumber beetles, and other larger pests that hide in soil or on plant leaves during different parts of their life cycles. Their natural scratching behavior also helps incorporate organic matter into soil while providing gentle cultivation that loosens compacted areas without damaging plant roots. Cannery days. Amish families coordinate harvest and preservation activities on designated cannery days when everyone works together to process large quantities of produce efficiently. These community efforts speed up the time-consuming work of preparing food for winter storage while making the labor more enjoyable through shared work and conversation. The systematic approach ensures that peak quality produce gets preserved at exactly the right time for maximum nutrition and flavor retention. Working together allows families to share equipment, knowledge, and labor while processing much larger quantities than any individual household could handle alone. The social aspect makes tedious work more enjoyable while ensuring that traditional preservation knowledge gets passed from experienced practitioners to younger family members who will carry on these valuable skills. This coordinated approach maximizes food security while minimizing individual effort and expense. Fermented veggies. Amish families ferment cabbage, cucumbers, beans, and many other vegetables to create tangy, flavorful foods that last for months without refrigeration. Fermentation adds complex flavors while preserving nutrients and creating beneficial probiotics that support digestive health. This ancient preservation method requires no energy inputs beyond human labor and simple equipment that most households already possess or can easily acquire. Fermented vegetables are like pickled time capsules. They capture the harvest at its peak and keep getting better with age, unlike fresh vegetables that start declining the moment they're picked from the garden. The fermentation process relies on beneficial bacteria that naturally occur on vegetable surfaces, creating an acidic environment that prevents spoilage while developing unique flavors that many people prefer to fresh vegetables. Different vegetables require specific techniques and timing, but the basic principles remain consistent across various crops and can be adapted to personal taste preferences. Lactofermentation. Amish practitioners also use lactofermentation techniques that create different flavors and textures while preserving vegetables for extended storage periods. This method encourages specific beneficial bacteria that produce lactic acid, creating an environment that preserves food while adding probiotics that benefit human health. The process requires careful attention to salt concentrations and timing, but produces superior results for many vegetables. The lactofermentation process creates an oxygen-free environment where beneficial bacteria thrive while harmful organisms cannot survive. This natural preservation method requires no artificial additives or preservatives while producing foods that many people find more digestible and flavorful than either fresh or traditionally canned vegetables. The technique works particularly well for root vegetables and leafy greens that don't preserve well using other methods. Salt preservation. Amish families preserve vegetables in layers of salt using techniques passed down through many generations. Salt draws moisture from vegetables while creating an environment where harmful bacteria cannot survive, effectively preserving food for months without refrigeration or other modern conveniences. This time-tested method requires only vegetables, salt, and proper containers that most households can easily provide or obtain locally. Salt preservation works like hiring a bouncer for vegetables. It keeps out all the troublemakers that cause spoilage while letting the good flavors concentrate and develop into something even better than the original. The process involves alternating layers of prepared vegetables and salt in containers that allow excess moisture to drain away while preventing contamination from airborne organisms. Different vegetables require specific preparation techniques and salt ratios, but the basic principles work reliably for most crops that don't preserve well using other traditional methods. Cover crops. Amish farmers sow rye, clover, buckwheat, and other cover crops in empty fields and garden beds to prevent erosion while rebuilding soil nutrients during fallow periods. These crops prevent valuable topsoil from washing away during heavy rains, while their roots add organic matter and create channels that improve drainage and soil structure. The patient Amish understand that soil health requires long-term thinking and management that extends beyond individual growing seasons. Cover crops also suppress weeds that would otherwise colonize empty ground and create management problems for subsequent plantings. Many cover crops fix nitrogen from the atmosphere, adding this essential nutrient to soil without expensive fertilizer inputs. When cover crops get tilled or mowed before going to seed, they add substantial organic matter that feeds beneficial soil organisms and improves growing conditions for future cash crops. Moon phase. Planting. Amish gardeners often plant seeds based on lunar cycles, believing that moon phases influence plant growth and development in ways that can improve germination rates and overall plant health. Many traditional farmers observe that root crops planted during certain moon phases develop better while leafy crops respond to different lunar timing. This ancient practice costs nothing to implement while potentially improving garden results through timing that works with natural cycles. Moon phase planting is like following nature's own calendar. Instead of arguing with the universe about when things should happen, smart gardeners work with cosmic rhythms that have been influencing life on Earth since the beginning of time. The practice involves planting root crops during waning moon phases when energy supposedly moves downward, while leafy crops get planted during waxing phases when energy moves upward toward leaves and stems. Whether the effects come from lunar influences or simply from paying closer attention to timing and conditions, many gardeners report better results when they follow traditional moon phase recommendations for different types of crops. Place a copper penny in pots. The Amish have long valued simple, natural solutions for gardening challenges. One such method involves placing copper pennies in plant pots, a practice that has gained popularity beyond their communities. When you drop a clean penny into the soil before adding your plants, it acts as a natural defense system against unwanted fungi. The science behind this trick is fascinating. Copper ions slowly release into the soil, creating an environment where mold and mildew struggle to survive. It's like having a tiny guardian for your plant's root system, working 24/7 to keep things healthy. Many gardeners spend hundreds of dollars on commercial fungicides, but this 1-cent solution might be all you need. Just remember to clean your penny first. That green patina might look vintage chic, but it won't help your plants thrive. And if your pennies keep disappearing, you might want to have a chat with your cat about their newfound coin collecting hobby. Sprinkle wood ash on soil for potassium boost. Following time-tested Amish practices of using every resource wisely, those ashes from your fireplace aren't just dust to be discarded. They're garden gold. Wood ash contains about 5% potassium and 2% phosphorus, nutrients that help strengthen plant stems and promote healthy blooming. Sprinkle cooled ashes lightly around your plants, about 1 cup per square yard. The ash also helps neutralize acidic soils, though you might want to skip this trick around acid-loving plants like blueberries and azaleas. Garden trials show plants treated with wood ash produce up to 20% more flowers than untreated ones. Just remember that a little goes a long way. You're aiming for a light dusting, not recreating a volcanic aftermath. Put plants in the bathroom for humidity boost. Following the Amish principle of working with what nature provides, your bathroom's natural humidity can create a perfect microclimate for certain plants. The steam from showers can raise humidity levels by up to 30%, creating a mini tropical paradise for moisture-loving plants. Ferns, orchids, and peace lilies thrive in this environment, turning your bathroom into a spa-like retreat. Research shows bathroom-dwelling plants grow up to 20% faster than their living room cousins due to the consistent moisture levels. One plant enthusiast said her bathroom jungle got so lush she started charging admission for tours, though that might be stretching the truth a bit. Just make sure your bathroom gets enough natural light, or your tropical paradise might turn into a plant retirement home. Grow cuttings in a potato. Looking for a foolproof way to root plant cuttings? This clever trick, reminiscent of Amish ingenuity, uses the humble potato as a natural rooting medium. The potato provides steady moisture and nutrients while protecting developing roots, increasing success rates by up to 70% compared to traditional methods. Simply cut a potato in half, make a small hole in the center, and insert your cutting about an inch deep. The natural sugars and moisture in the potato help stimulate root growth, while the dense flesh provides perfect support. Plant the potato and cutting directly in soil, keeping just the plant stem above ground. One gardener claimed her potato-propagated plants grew so well, they started requesting French fries as fertilizer. Just make sure to use fresh potatoes. Those sprouted spuds from the back of your pantry might have different plans for your garden. Save and dry seeds. Long before garden centers existed, communities like the Amish perfected the art of seed saving. It's like creating a time capsule of your garden's greatest hits. The trick is to choose seeds from your healthiest, most productive plants. those overachievers that produce the juiciest tomatoes or the crunchiest cucumbers. After collecting, dry them thoroughly in a cool, dark place. Moisture is the enemy here. One drop can turn your carefully saved seeds into a science experiment gone wrong. Some gardeners have reported success rates of up to 90% with properly stored seeds, compared to just 60% with commercially bought ones. Label everything clearly, unless you enjoy the surprise of planting what you think are carrots and ending up with pumpkins. Store them in paper envelopes or glass jars, and you'll have a treasure trove ready for next spring's garden adventure. Use lemon peels as biodegradable pots. When life gives you lemons, turn them into tiny plant nurseries. Taking inspiration from the Amish tradition of utilizing every resource, emptied lemon halves make perfect biodegradable seed starting containers. The citrus peels naturally contain nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, enriching the soil as they decompose. Research shows seedlings grown in citrus pots have 30% higher germination rates due to the antimicrobial properties of the peel. Scoop out the fruit, poke drainage holes in the bottom, fill with potting soil, and plant your seeds. The whole thing can be planted directly in the garden when ready. A creative gardener started calling her citrus nursery the Sour Patch Nursery, though the only thing sour about it was the leftover lemonade from all those emptied lemons. Sprinkle cinnamon on seedlings. Following generations-old Amish gardening wisdom, cinnamon isn't just for baking anymore. This common spice acts as a powerful natural fungicide, protecting vulnerable seedlings from damping off disease. Laboratory tests show cinnamon reduces fungal growth by up to 80% compared to untreated soil. Just sprinkle a light dusting over the soil surface around your seedlings. Think powdered sugar on French toast, not cinnamon challenge levels. The antimicrobial properties help prevent mold and mildew while giving your greenhouse a pleasant holiday aroma. One enthusiastic gardener reported her cinnamon-protected plants grew so well, the local fungi filed a restraining order. Remember, though, a little goes a long way. You're aiming for plant protection, not pumpkin spice garden beds. Rotate crops to preserve soil nutrients. The concept of crop rotation might sound fancy, but it's really just musical chairs for plants. Following traditional Amish farming wisdom, moving your crops to different spots each season keeps your soil healthy and productive. Each type of plant takes different nutrients from the soil, and some, like peas and beans, even give back by adding nitrogen. A typical rotation might go from heavy feeders like tomatoes to nitrogen-fixing beans, followed by light feeders like carrots. Research shows that proper crop rotation can increase yields by up to 20% while reducing pest problems by 30%. The trick is keeping track of what went where. Some gardeners draw maps, while others rely on memory and end up with surprise vegetables popping up in unexpected places. Maybe that's why they call it a growing experience. Add charcoal in terrariums. Taking a cue from Amish practices of creating self-sustaining systems, adding a layer of charcoal to your terrarium is like installing a natural air purifier. Activated charcoal absorbs excess moisture, filters out impurities, and prevents that funky smell that can develop in closed environments. Studies show terrariums with charcoal layers stay fresh up to 3 times longer than those without. Place a 1/4-inch layer between the drainage stones and soil, essentially creating a natural Brita filter for your mini garden. A terrarium enthusiast claimed her charcoal-filtered setup became so pristine her plants started holding cleanliness competitions. But remember, you want horticultural charcoal, not the leftover bits from your last barbecue. Unless you want your terrarium smelling like last summer's cookout. Bury fish scraps for fertilization. The ancient practice of burying fish scraps, still used in many Amish gardens, might sound fishy, but the results are remarkable. Dig a hole about 12 inches deep near your plants, add the fish scraps, and cover them with soil. As the fish decomposes, it releases a powerful cocktail of nutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Exactly what your plants need for strong growth. Studies show that fish-fertilized soil contains up to 3 times more nitrogen than untreated soil. Just make sure to bury the scraps deep enough, unless you want your garden to become the neighborhood cat's new favorite hangout spot. My uncle once said his tomatoes grew so big using this method that he had to hire a weightlifter to harvest them. While that might be a slight exaggeration, the results are genuinely impressive. Spread pencil shavings as mulch. Could your pencil sharpener be hiding garden gold? These tiny wood curls, much like the wood shavings Amish craftsmen use in their workshops, make surprisingly effective mulch. Pencil shavings are essentially cedar mulch in miniature, complete with natural pest-repelling properties. Research indicates areas mulched with pencil shavings retain up to 25% more moisture than bare soil. Spread them in a thin layer around indoor plants or container gardens. They're particularly good at deterring fungus gnats. One teacher started collecting shavings from her classroom's pencil sharpener, claiming her windowsill garden became the most well-read plants in the school. Just stick to plain wooden pencils. Those neon-colored ones might add some unexpected flair to your garden's color scheme. Practice companion planting. Some plants are just better together, like an old married couple who figured out how to complement each other perfectly. Taking a page from traditional Amish farming practices, companion planting pairs plants that help each other thrive. Tomatoes and basil are the garden's power couple. The basil improves tomato flavor while repelling pests, and both plants seem happier together. Marigolds and vegetables are another winning combination, with the flowers acting as natural pest control. Research shows gardens using companion planting experience up to 40% fewer pest problems than those with single crops. Even carrots and onions get along famously. The onion's strong scent confuses carrot flies, while carrots help deter onion pests. It's like running a botanical matchmaking service where everyone benefits. Just avoid planting beans near onions. That relationship is about as successful as a cat trying to befriend a water sprinkler. Place old sponges for drainage. Those worn-out kitchen sponges might be retired from dish duty, but they're perfect for your plant pots. Taking inspiration from Amish resourcefulness, repurposing sponges as drainage material prevents waterlogging while retaining just enough moisture for healthy roots. Research shows pots with sponge drainage layers retain up to 40% more moisture during dry spells than those with traditional gravel. Cut the sponges to fit the bottom of your pots, and they'll act like tiny water reservoirs. Studies found plants with sponge drainage systems survive 2 days longer between waterings than those without. One container gardener claimed her sponge-bottom pots became so efficient at water management they started offering consulting services to neighboring plants. Just remember to use plain sponges. Those with soap residue might turn your next watering session into an unexpected bubble party. Add Epsom salt for flowering plants. Following the time-tested wisdom of Amish gardeners, Epsom salt isn't just for soothing baths. It's like a spa treatment for your flowering plants. The magnesium and sulfur in Epsom salt support chlorophyll production and help flowers produce bigger, brighter blooms. Mix 2 tablespoons of Epsom salt per gallon of water and apply monthly during the growing season. Garden trials show plants treated with Epsom salt solution produce up to 35% more flowers than untreated ones. The magnesium boost is particularly beneficial for roses, peppers, and tomatoes. One gardener's roses grew so vibrant after Epsom salt treatments, the local bees started leaving 5-star reviews. Just don't confuse your garden's Epsom salt with your bath time supply, unless you want your evening soak to smell suspiciously like potting soil. Cover pots with plastic bags for humidity. Creating a mini greenhouse with plastic bags might sound like a modern hack, but it draws from the same principle of resource conservation that Amish farmers have used for generations. A clear plastic bag over your pots can increase humidity by up to 70%, creating perfect conditions for cuttings and humidity-loving plants. Make sure the plastic doesn't touch the leaves, using stakes if needed to keep it elevated. The enclosed environment helps maintain consistent moisture levels and temperature, boosting growth rates by up to 25%. One plant parent called her bag collection the Bag Ladies Garden Club and swears the plants started holding exclusive meetings under their plastic domes. Remember to poke a few small holes for airflow. You're aiming for a greenhouse effect, not a plant sauna. Spray vinegar for ant control. Want to send ants packing without harsh chemicals? This natural solution draws from the same practical wisdom that keeps Amish gardens pest-free. White vinegar disrupts ant trails and confuses their communication system, making your garden about as navigable as a maze with no exit. Mix equal parts water and white vinegar in a spray bottle, then apply it around problem areas. Studies show vinegar solutions reduce ant activity by up to 70% within 24 hours. The acetic acid in vinegar essentially erases the chemical trails ants use to find their way, leaving them more lost than a GPS in a tunnel. One gardener reported her ant problem disappeared so quickly, she spotted them carrying tiny suitcases while making their exit. Just keep the spray away from your plant's leaves. They prefer their salad dressing on the side, not as a direct spray. Rub aloe vera gel on plant cuts. The healing power of aloe vera isn't just for human scrapes and burns. Taking a page from Amish herbal remedies, this succulent's gel can help heal plant wounds and prevent infection. The natural antibacterial properties in aloe vera gel create a protective barrier over cuts and breaks in plant stems, reducing the risk of disease by up to 50%. Simply squeeze fresh gel from an aloe leaf and gently apply it to damaged areas on your plants. The gel seals the wound while providing nutrients that speed up the healing process. A plant enthusiast swears her aloe-treated plants recovered so well, they started offering healing services to other injured plants in the neighborhood. Remember though, a little goes a long way. You're treating a plant wound, not moisturizing a desert. Grow what you love. What's the point of growing vegetables you'll never eat? Taking inspiration from practical Amish wisdom, focus on planting foods your family actually enjoys. Studies show home gardeners waste up to 30% of their harvest on crops nobody wants to eat. That experimental artichoke patch might sound exciting, but if your family thinks artichokes are as appealing as eating pine cones, you might want to reconsider. Instead, start with crowd pleasers like tomatoes, lettuce, or herbs that you use regularly in cooking. A successful garden isn't measured by its variety, but by how empty your plates are after dinner. One gardener tracked her family's vegetable consumption for a year and discovered they ate 20 times more snap peas than Brussels sprouts. Needless to say, her garden planning got much simpler after that. Remember, the best tasting vegetables are the ones that actually make it to your table. Sow densely, then transplant. In gardening, sometimes being crowded is a good thing. Just ask any Amish farmer starting their spring seedlings. Start by sowing seeds close together in a small area, treating them like teenagers at a concert, packed but still able to breathe. Once your seedlings reach about 2 inches tall, carefully separate and transplant the strongest ones to their final homes. This method saves space during the crucial early growing period and lets you select the most vigorous plants. Research indicates that densely sown seeds have a 15% higher germination rate due to shared warmth and moisture. Plus, it's like running a plant beauty pageant where everyone's a winner. The strongest get prime garden real estate, while the smaller ones can be tucked into container gardens or shared with neighbors. Control weeds with vinegar or bleach. Battling weeds doesn't always require expensive chemical warfare. The Amish have long favored natural solutions like vinegar and bleach to keep unwanted plants at bay. White vinegar's 5% acetic acid content makes it a formidable opponent against weeds, especially on sunny days when the acid's effect is strongest. Studies show vinegar can kill up to 80% of weeds within 24 hours of application. For tougher customers, bleach can be the nuclear option. Just remember, it's harder on the soil than vinegar. A gardener once said her vinegar spray was so effective, even the dandelions started bringing their own salad dressing. But seriously, apply these solutions carefully. They're like that friend who doesn't know the meaning of personal space, affecting everything they touch. And keep them away from your prized plants unless you're going for that post-apocalyptic garden look. Feed tomato plants with banana peels. Your morning banana could be the secret to growing prize-winning tomatoes. In the spirit of waste-free Amish gardening, those peels pack a potassium punch that tomato plants crave, like teenagers crave pizza. Cut the peels into small pieces and bury them an inch deep around your tomato plants. As they decompose, they release potassium, which helps develop stronger stems and more flavorful fruit. Laboratory tests show banana peels contain up to 42% potassium, making them nature's energy drink for plants. One clever gardener started calling her garden the Banana Republic after using this method, claiming her tomatoes grew so big they needed their own zip code. Just don't go overboard. Your tomatoes might love banana peels, but your neighbors might not love the fruit fly convention you're hosting. Enrich soil with crushed eggshells. Following time-tested Amish practices, crushed eggshells are like calcium supplements for your garden soil. Instead of tossing them in the trash, save those shells and give them a second life nurturing your plants. Crush them finely. The smaller the pieces, the faster they break down and release their calcium goodness. Research indicates soil enriched with crushed eggshells has up to 20% more available calcium than untreated soil. This extra calcium helps prevent blossom end rot in tomatoes and strengthens plant cell walls across the board. Plus, the sharp edges of crushed shells discourage slugs and snails who apparently don't enjoy crossing what feels like a microscopic bed of nails. One gardener joked that her plants got more calcium than her breakfast cereal, and her tomatoes never complained about having to drink their milk. Deadhead flowers for more blooms. Regular deadheading is like giving your flowering plants a fresh haircut. It keeps them looking sharp and encourages new growth. Drawing from Amish gardening practices that focus on maximizing yields through simple maintenance, removing spent flowers prevents plants from wasting energy on seed production. Studies show deadheaded plants produce up to 50% more blooms throughout the season. Simply pinch or cut off faded flowers just above the nearest healthy leaf or bud. Each removed bloom sends a signal to the plant to produce more flowers, kind of like hitting the garden's refresh button. One enthusiastic gardener claimed her marigolds got so excited about deadheading, they started dropping their old blooms themselves, though that might have had more to do with the wind than any horticultural self-awareness. Just remember to save a few blooms at the end of the season if you want to collect seeds. Repel rabbits with urine. Before you wrinkle your nose at this tip, consider that even Amish farmers have used this surprisingly effective method to protect their gardens. Predator urine, whether from humans or dogs, creates an invisible fence that makes rabbits think twice about turning your garden into their personal salad bar. Research indicates gardens protected by urine barriers experience 70% fewer rabbit visits than unprotected plots. Dilute the urine with water, 1 part urine to 10 parts water, and spray it around your garden's perimeter. One gardener joked that his garden became so well protected, the rabbits started wearing tiny gas masks. Just be considerate about when you apply this deterrent. Your neighbors might not appreciate watching you maintain your garden borders during their backyard barbecue. Mow grass. When dry, cutting wet grass is like trying to give a haircut to a wet dog, messy and inefficient. The Amish, known for their timing-sensitive farming practices, understand that dry grass leads to cleaner cuts and healthier lawns. When grass blades are dry, they stand upright like tiny soldiers, making it easier for mower blades to deliver clean, even cuts. Studies show mowing dry grass reduces the spread of lawn diseases by up to 40% compared to cutting wet grass. Plus, dry clippings scatter more evenly instead of clumping into those unsightly lawn-killing piles. One homeowner claimed his wet-mowed lawn looked like it had been styled by a blindfolded barber during an earthquake. The bonus? Your mower won't get clogged with wet clippings, and you won't have to perform the dreaded underdeck cleanout nearly as often. Water plants at night in summer. Drawing from generations of Amish farming knowledge, watering plants after sunset isn't just about avoiding the heat, it's smart garden science. Night watering allows roots to soak up moisture without competing with evaporation, which can steal up to 60% of water during daytime hours. The cooler temperatures mean water has time to penetrate deeply into the soil, encouraging stronger root growth. Just make sure to water the soil rather than spraying leaves, as wet foliage overnight can lead to fungal issues. Nobody wants their garden turning into a mushroom farm accidentally. A seasoned gardener once said his evening watering routine became so regular that the neighborhood cats started setting their dinner time by his sprinkler schedule. Consider drip irrigation. The slow, steady approach to watering championed by Amish farmers proves that sometimes the tortoise really does beat the hare. Drip irrigation delivers water directly to plant roots through small holes in plastic tubing, using up to 50% less water than traditional sprinkler systems. Each plant receives precisely what it needs without waste, like having a personal water butler for every tomato and cucumber in your garden. Research shows plants watered through drip systems grow up to 25% faster than those watered by traditional methods. Installing a basic system isn't rocket science. If you can string holiday lights, you can set up drip irrigation. Though one gardener claimed his system was so efficient, his plants started sending thank you notes to the water meter. Coffee grounds, plant caffeine. Morning coffee rituals aren't just for humans. Plants can benefit from a caffeine boost too. While few Amish families drink coffee themselves, many have discovered that this English waste product works wonders in their gardens. Resourceful communities collect used coffee grounds from neighboring non-Amish businesses that would otherwise throw them away. Coffee grounds particularly benefit acid-loving plants like blueberries, azaleas, and rhododendrons. The slight acidity gives these plants exactly what they need to thrive. What's more, grounds improve soil texture, add nitrogen, and even deter slugs and snails who hate crawling across the rough surface. This natural garden amendment can produce remarkable results, especially with hydrangeas. When coffee grounds are concentrated in the soil around hydrangeas, they can intensify the blue coloration of the blooms by increasing soil acidity. This pH shift enhances the plant's ability to absorb aluminum, which is responsible for the vibrant blue hue. Many gardeners specifically use coffee grounds as an economical alternative to commercial soil acidifiers for this purpose. The cardboard trick. Walking through an Amish garden might reveal an unexpected sight: cardboard sheets deliberately laid between rows or around plants. What looks like unfinished work is actually a brilliant technique that slashes weeding time while improving soil health. Amish gardeners collect boxes from local shops who are happy to have someone take this bulky waste. They remove tape and staples, then lay the cardboard directly on garden paths or around established plants. A thin layer of mulch on top makes it less obvious. The magic happens in multiple ways. The cardboard blocks sunlight completely, killing existing weeds and preventing new seeds from germinating. It retains moisture beautifully, reducing watering needs. Most surprisingly, earthworms love cardboard. They're attracted to the moist environment beneath and quickly break it down. Most remarkable is how quickly this transformation happens. A cardboard layer disappears completely in just one growing season, enriching your soil with carbon as it decomposes. The Three Sisters Method. Long before European settlers arrived, Native American tribes had perfected a companion planting method known as the Three Sisters, which was later adopted by Amish farmers. This ingenious technique combines corn, beans, and squash in a symbiotic relationship that reduces labor while increasing harvests. The brilliance of this method lies in how these plants complement each other. Tall corn stalks serve as natural trellises for beans to climb. The beans, being legumes, capture atmospheric nitrogen and convert it to nourish all three plants. Meanwhile, sprawling squash creates living mulch with its broad leaves, shading the soil to retain moisture and suppress weeds. The prickly stems of squash plants also help deter raccoons and other animals that might damage the corn. For optimal results, it's important to select appropriate varieties of each plant. Modern sweet corn, delicate bean varieties, or aggressive squash types like zucchini often don't work well together. Traditional varieties that grow at complementary rates and share space effectively are essential to the success of this time-tested agricultural system. Intensive planting squares. Square-foot gardening revolutionized how many Amish families approach vegetable production. This method allows them to fit 4 times more plants in the same space while dramatically reducing weeding time. The concept is beautifully simple. Divide your garden bed into 1-foot squares and plant each square according to specific spacing guidelines. Larger plants like tomatoes might get 1 per square, while smaller crops like radishes could fit 16 in the same space. By eliminating traditional rows and the wasted space between them, this intensive method maximizes every inch of soil. When plants grow this close together, their leaves quickly touch, creating living mulch that shades the soil and prevents weed seeds from germinating. The result? Less time pulling weeds and more time harvesting food. Commercial farmers often laugh at this approach, claiming it's inefficient for large-scale production, but numbers don't lie. A 4x4-foot intensive square can produce over 200 pounds of vegetables in a season. Strategic sunflower placement. The tall, cheerful flowers that brighten so many Amish farms aren't just there for beauty. Sunflowers serve multiple strategic purposes in the garden, creating a perfect example of plants doing double duty. Plant sunflowers on the north side of your garden, and they'll cast afternoon shade on heat-sensitive crops like lettuce and spinach. This natural shade extension can keep these greens producing weeks longer into summer than they would in full sun. During July, when temperatures soar, this can mean the difference between harvest and heartbreak. Sunflowers also act as powerful pollinator magnets. Bees, butterflies, and other beneficial insects flock to their abundant pollen and nectar. Once attracted to your garden, these insects stick around to pollinate everything else. Data from Amish test gardens showed tomato plants near sunflowers produced 27% more fruit than those without nearby sunflower companions. Last summer, my neighbor laughed when I planted a sunflower fence along my garden's northern edge. The early, late double harvest. Why plant your garden just once when you could harvest twice from the same spot? Amish gardeners master the art of succession planting, using the same garden space for two completely different crops in a single growing season. The trick lies in pairing fast-maturing early crops with later-season vegetables. For example, plant cool-weather spring peas in April, harvest them by mid-June, then plant heat-loving beans in the same spot. By October, you'll have harvested two complete crops from one garden space. These pairings must be compatible. The first crop shouldn't deplete what the second needs. Radishes followed by squash works well. The shallow-rooted radishes don't steal nutrients from deeper soil layers where squash will later feed. Many Amish gardeners use this method in every available inch of their modest gardens. Record keeping has shown impressive results from succession planting, with documented yields exceeding 700 pounds of food from plots the size of an average living room. Vertical growing systems. Looking at traditional Amish gardens reveals an often overlooked dimension: upward space. Simple wooden trellises, often crafted from pruned tree branches or reclaimed lumber, transform garden walls and fences into productive growing areas. The math makes perfect sense. 1 square foot of ground space can support 9 square feet of vertical growing area. Peas, beans, cucumbers, and even small melons thrive when grown vertically, leaving precious ground space available for root crops and leafy greens. These vertical systems shine especially bright in small gardens. An Amish family with limited land might train cucumber vines up sturdy A-frame trellises, harvesting dozens of pounds from plants that take up minimal ground space. The fruits hang freely as they develop, growing straighter and cleaner than ground-grown counterparts. Vertical growing structures like cucumber arches built over garden paths serve multiple functions. They create green tunnels that provide shade, maximize growing space, and position fruits at convenient harvesting height. These practical structures transform ordinary garden paths into productive growing zones while making maintenance and harvesting more accessible. Clay pot irrigation. Sometimes the simplest solutions have the deepest roots. A technique regularly used in Amish gardens traces its origins back over 2,000 years to ancient China and Rome. Archaeological evidence shows farmers using unglazed clay vessels to efficiently water crops millennia ago. The method couldn't be simpler. Bury an unglazed clay pot up to its neck in your garden bed, fill it with water, and place a lid on top to prevent evaporation. The porous clay slowly weeps moisture into surrounding soil, delivering water directly to plant roots over days or even weeks. This system works through soil physics rather than complex technology. The clay releases water only when the surrounding soil dries out, creating perfect moisture balance without any electronic timers or soaker hoses. For Amish gardeners who often avoid modern technology, this ancient approach provides reliable irrigation without electricity. The practicality of clay pot irrigation extends to vacation periods during growing season. Gardeners can fill buried pots before leaving town and return to find well-hydrated plants, eliminating the need for daily watering or complex irrigation systems. The morning watering rule. Traditional Amish gardens follow a strict rule: water in the morning, never in the evening. This isn't just tradition. It's science-backed wisdom that prevents countless plant diseases. When water sits on leaves overnight, it creates the perfect breeding ground for fungal problems like powdery mildew and black spot. Morning watering allows plants to dry completely before evening temperatures drop. This simple timing change prevents nearly 90% of common garden diseases without using any chemicals or sprays. Early watering has another benefit. Plants absorb moisture more efficiently in the morning hours, taking up water before the day's heat, causes excessive evaporation. This means more water reaches the roots where it's needed most. Research consistently demonstrates the effectiveness of this approach. In comparative studies, gardens watered exclusively in the morning showed significantly reduced fungal disease rates compared to evening-watered plots. One university extension study found morning-watered squash plants remained healthy throughout the growing season, while evening-watered plants developed severe powdery mildew infections within weeks. The morning-watered plants produced yields up to double those of their evening-watered counterparts, all without fungicide applications. Mulch mastery. Free garden mulch is everywhere if you know where to look. Amish gardens remain productive even during droughts thanks to their mastery of mulching with materials most people overlook. Fall leaves, chopped straw, grass clippings, and even shredded newspaper make excellent mulch that costs absolutely nothing. Applied in a 3-inch layer around plants, these materials dramatically reduce watering needs by preventing evaporation from the soil surface. Research from drought-prone areas shows properly mulched gardens produce up to 31% more food with the same amount of water. Beyond water conservation, mulch suppresses weeds, regulates soil temperature, and gradually breaks down to feed the soil. No store-bought fertilizer needed. The mulch gathering season starts well before planting time. Bags of fallen leaves that suburban neighborhoods put out for collection in autumn are garden gold to resourceful Amish families. One Amish gardener I know collects leaves each fall, stores them in wire bins, and has enough free mulch to cover his entire garden every spring, saving hundreds of dollars while growing incredible vegetables. Garlic spray formula? Bug problems? Skip the toxic chemicals and try the centuries-old Amish solution instead. Homemade garlic spray effectively deters an impressive 27 different garden pests without harming beneficial insects or leaving dangerous residues on food. The recipe couldn't be simpler. Soak 4 to 5 crushed garlic cloves in a tablespoon of mineral oil overnight. Strain, add a teaspoon of mild dish soap, and mix with a quart of water. Spray directly on plant leaves to repel aphids, cucumber beetles, and many other troublemakers. The compounds in garlic overwhelm the smell receptors insects use to find their favorite plants. When they can't smell their dinner, they simply move on to unprotected gardens instead of yours. One important note: it's best to avoid spraying right before garden gatherings or outdoor events. While the smell dissipates relatively quickly, guests might notice the strong garlic aroma in the immediate hours after application. The scent typically fades within a day, making it undetectable to humans while still effective against insects. Bird attraction methods. Nature provides its own pest control service through birds, if you're smart enough to invite them in. Amish gardeners understand this partnership and actively create habitats to attract insect-eating birds to their gardens. Simple homemade birdhouses placed strategically around garden edges bring in cavity nesting species like chickadees, wrens, and bluebirds. These feathered helpers work tirelessly consuming insects. A single chickadee family can devour over 9,000 insects during one nesting season. That's free pest control you can't buy in any store. Beyond houses, small water features attract birds looking for drinking and bathing spots. Even a shallow dish refreshed daily brings birds within bug hunting distance of your precious plants. Certain birds specialize in specific pests. Wrens excel at catching caterpillars hiding under leaves, while orioles help manage larger bugs. Martins famously control mosquito populations. The local Amish community near our town maintains purple martin houses throughout their farming areas, creating colonies that patrol gardens and fields, snatching flying insects out of the air with remarkable efficiency. Nature's bug blocker. Crawling insects meet their match with nature's bug blocker, a fine white powder that creates an impassable barrier without chemicals. Made from fossilized aquatic organisms, this substance feels like talcum powder to human touch, but functions like thousands of microscopic razor blades to insects with exoskeletons. Amish gardeners sprinkle this powder around plants troubled by slugs, ants, or beetles. When these pests attempt to cross the barrier, the sharp microscopic edges damage their protective outer covering, eventually causing dehydration and death. Despite this deadly effect on insects, nature's bug blocker remains completely safe for humans, pets, and wildlife. It's just fossilized shells millions of years old. The challenge comes during rainy periods when water washes away the powder. Clever Amish gardeners protect their diatomaceous earth barriers with small covers during rain, or simply reapply after wet weather. Some create waterproof shelters for the powder using cut plastic bottles or miniature roof structures, ensuring continuous protection even during the rainiest seasons. This prehistoric solution solves modern garden problems without introducing toxic chemicals into your food supply. Timing planting to avoid pest cycles. By planting certain crops just 1 week earlier or later than usual, Amish gardeners completely avoid major pest problems that plague their neighbors. This method relies on understanding insect life cycles. Most garden pests emerge, feed, and reproduce during specific calendar windows. By timing plantings to miss these periods, crops can grow past their vulnerable stages before pests even arrive. Bean beetles offer a perfect example. These destructive insects typically emerge in mid-June in many areas. Plant your beans in early May, and they'll develop tough leaves beetles find less appetizing before the pests arrive. Alternatively, delay planting until early July, after the beetles have laid their eggs elsewhere. This principle applies across many crops and pests. Early and late bean plantings often thrive, while mid-June plantings can be completely destroyed by bean beetles. The same beans, same garden, same season. But timing makes all the difference. Experienced gardeners recognize this pattern, sometimes referring to critical pest emergence periods as specific beetle weeks or moth days to avoid. Simple seed storage systems. Proper seed storage determines whether your carefully saved seeds sprout vigorously next season or fail completely. Amish gardeners rely on 2 main storage methods, each perfect for different types of seeds. Paper envelopes work best for large, dry seeds like beans, corn, and sunflowers. The paper breathes, preventing moisture buildup that leads to mold. Label each envelope clearly with variety name and harvest year. Glass jars provide better protection for tiny seeds like tomatoes, peppers, and herbs. These small seeds can easily get lost in paper folds. Before storing in jars, ensure seeds are completely dry by spreading them on paper towels for a week. Add a small packet of rice or silica gel to absorb any remaining moisture. Temperature and humidity control matter more than container choice. Store seeds in cool, dry places away from temperature fluctuations. Under these conditions, many seeds remain viable for decades. My grandmother's tomato seeds still sprouted with 80% germination after 30 years in a cool basement. Cross-pollination prevention. Keeping vegetable varieties pure requires understanding how plants mate. Amish gardening communities maintain heritage varieties through simple physical barriers and smart scheduling that prevent unwanted cross-pollination. Distance works for some crops. Corn pollen can travel a mile on the wind, so Amish farmers stagger corn plantings by at least 2 weeks. Plants from different planting dates flower at different times, preventing cross-pollination. For vine crops like squash and cucumbers, physical barriers work better. Small mesh bags placed over female flowers before they open keep stray pollen out. Hand pollination with a small paintbrush transfers pollen only from selected male flowers, ensuring variety purity. When zucchini and pumpkins cross-pollinate, they can produce bizarre hybrid squash. These strange fruits might look like zucchini, but taste terrible and have stringy pumpkin-like interiors. Experienced gardeners prevent this by growing only one squash variety each season or separating different types to opposite ends of their gardens. Cold frames from reclaimed windows. Old windows find new purpose in Amish communities as covers for cold frames, simple structures that extend the growing season by months. These mini greenhouses capture solar energy during the day and release it slowly at night, protecting plants from frost. Building a cold frame is straightforward. Create a box from wood, angle it to face south, then attach a window as the lid. The glass allows sunlight to enter, but traps heat inside. Temperature differences can be dramatic, often 30 degrees Fahrenheit warmer inside on freezing days. Amish builders excel at repurposing materials others discard. A neighbor's replacement window project yielded perfect glass panes that an Amish gardener transformed into productive growing space. Cold frames can be extremely cost-effective, often requiring only minimal investment in hardware like hinges and screws when using salvaged materials. This small investment can yield fresh lettuce, spinach, and kale throughout winter in cold climates where temperatures regularly drop below freezing. The structures typically pay for themselves quickly through extended harvest periods and reduced grocery expenses. The hotbed technique. Centuries before electric heat mats existed, Amish gardeners used a clever technique to warm soil naturally: the hotbed. This 17th century method creates perfect growing temperatures using only decomposing materials. Fresh horse manure forms the foundation. As manure breaks down, it releases significant heat, enough to maintain soil temperatures around 70 degrees Fahrenheit even when outdoor temperatures hover near freezing. A 24-inch layer of fresh manure gets topped with 6 to 8 inches of good garden soil, creating a perfect seed-starting environment. Amish communities with horses have easy access to the main ingredient, making this method essentially free. The same material that heats the bed eventually becomes garden compost, serving double duty. The heat output is impressive. During decomposition, manure piles can reach internal temperatures up to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Properly built hotbeds maintain growing temperatures for 4 to 6 weeks, long enough to give seedlings a crucial head start before spring truly arrives. Many Amish farmers combine hotbeds with cold frames for maximum season extension. Strategic microclimates. Every garden contains hidden temperature treasures, spots that stay warmer or cooler than surrounding areas. Amish gardeners excel at identifying and using these natural microclimates to extend their growing seasons without any special equipment. South-facing stone walls absorb sunlight all day and radiate heat all night, creating warm zones perfect for heat-loving crops. Planted with tomatoes or peppers, these spots can add weeks to your growing season. Similarly, low areas where cool air settles become perfect locations for growing spring lettuce longer into summer. Finding microclimates requires observation. Check where snow melts first in spring or where frost appears last in fall. These indicators reveal temperature patterns across your property. Household features can also create beneficial microclimates. Areas near heat sources like dryer vents, kitchen walls, or compost piles often maintain higher temperatures that can significantly boost plant growth. These human-created warm pockets can be intentionally utilized to extend growing seasons for selected plants that thrive in warmer conditions. Frost protection methods. When surprise frosts threaten tender plants, Amish gardeners spring into action with simple protection methods that cost almost nothing. The difference between crop survival and disaster often comes down to just 4 degrees Fahrenheit of protection. Old bed sheets, lightweight blankets, and even newspaper can save plants when temperatures dip unexpectedly. Draping these covers over plants before sunset traps ground warmth underneath, creating a microclimate that stays just warm enough to prevent frost damage. Remove covers the next morning after temperatures rise above freezing. For smaller plants, upturned buckets, pots, or cardboard boxes work perfectly. Plastic milk jugs with bottoms removed protect individual seedlings while collecting heat during daytime. The midnight garden rescue is a familiar scene in Amish communities. When frost warnings come late in the evening, families often rush outside with flashlights, covering vulnerable plants with whatever materials are available, from tablecloths to beach towels. This quick action can save crops that would otherwise perish, allowing them to continue producing for months longer than neighboring unprotected plants. Root cellaring without a cellar. Not everyone has access to the traditional root cellars Amish families use for winter food storage, but their techniques can be adapted for modern homes, even apartments. Closets on exterior north-facing walls naturally stay cooler than the rest of your home. Add insulation with straw-filled boxes or coolers, and you've created a makeshift root cellar perfect for storing potatoes, carrots, and beets. Monitor temperature and humidity with an inexpensive thermometer and hygrometer. Temperature control is critical. Aim for 32 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit for most root vegetables. Too warm and they'll sprout or rot. Too cold and they'll freeze. Humidity should stay around 85 to 95%. Wrap vegetables in slightly damp newspaper if your storage area runs dry. Many urban gardeners have successfully stored 50 pounds or more of potatoes through winter using this method. With proper insulation in straw-filled boxes and weekly checks for sprouting, it's possible to enjoy farm-fresh root vegetables until early spring, when grocery store offerings often look shriveled and less appealing. Solar dehydration systems. Preserving the harvest without electricity aligns perfectly with Amish values of simplicity and self-reliance. Their wooden solar dehydrators harness the sun's energy to remove moisture from fruits and vegetables, preserving them for months without refrigeration. These simple structures feature a clear top that allows sunlight to enter, black interior surfaces to absorb heat, and vents that create air movement. The combination produces temperatures around 140 degrees Fahrenheit, perfect for dehydration without cooking the food. The efficiency is remarkable. 20 pounds of tomatoes shrink down to just 2 pounds of intensely flavored dried treats that store in a simple jar. Dried foods retain most nutrients and develop concentrated flavors that fresh produce can't match. Amish solar dehydrators are typically constructed from readily available materials like scrap lumber and repurposed windows. During peak harvest season, these devices run continuously, drying everything from apple slices to herbs. The preserved food sustains families through winter without requiring electricity or chemical preservatives. The Amish remind us that a great garden doesn't come from expensive tools. It comes from smart, simple habits. These 40 hacks prove that small changes can bring bigger harvests, healthier soil, and less wasted effort. Try even a few of them, and you'll see why their gardens keep thriving year after year.